there are many uncomfortable parallels between the multipolar world of the decades leading to the outbreak of the First World War and the current multipolar world of our time, including in East Asia. Britain, which ruled the waves, controlling the seas and ruling the global empire of colonies, was being challenged by Germany. Germany overtook Britain economically and built up its armaments on land and sea and asserted its claim for a place in the sun. In East Asia, following the end of the Cold War, American global supremacy is being challenged by the peaceful rise of China. Soon, in less than a decade, China would overtake the United States and the number one economy, the global economy. In fact, according to the latest World Bank study, in terms of the purchasing power parity, the GNP, gross domestic product of China is now slightly bigger than the United States. Militarily, as China claims it is one generation behind the United States, but as China now spends more money for its military build-up, no doubt China, already being a nuclear power and aggressively building its conventional weapons, including naval career, began to project its power in the Pacific and Indian Oceans. Germany, before 1914, asserted its claim in Africa and the Middle East. Today, China is saber-rattling, flexing its muscles over the disputed islands, Senkaku, as Japan call it, or Diaoyu Islands in the East China Sea, but also over the Paracel and Spratly Islands and the rocks in the South China Sea. China also claims over a vast expanse of water in the South China Sea, loosely defined as 9-dash line, on the basis that for ages, this part of the sea belonged to China. Its historical claims actually has no legal basis under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. On the multipolar East Asia, first I should, what do we mean by East Asia? In pure geographical terms, East Asia comprises of Northeast and Southeast Asia. But in ASEAN lexicon, initially it was meant as ASEAN plus 3, 10 ASEAN countries plus China, Japan, and Korea. But in 2004, as we prepared for the first East Asian Summit as a vehicle towards the creations of an East Asia community, we redefined East Asia to also include India, which by definition is South Asia, but also Australia and New Zealand, Southwest Pacific. So in total, we have the East Asian Summit from 2005 to 2010, 16 countries of East Asia. Indonesia then championed for a more balanced and inclusive East Asia for reasons that Indonesia believes that if East Asia is limited to 12, none of the 12 or combines of the 12 countries in the region is in a position to balance China. It is in these connections that is the importance of the U.S. pivot, the U.S. rebalancing its position in East Asia or larger Asia-Pacific regions. which is not new actually, since the Pearl Harbor and in the end of the Second World War, the United States remains a dominant power in the Asia-Pacific regions. Indonesia did not believe that when one day China holds both status as #1 economy in the world and the most powerful country in the regions militarily, China would continue to be or to remain peaceful. Something that Indonesia began to sense, indeed experience, by mid-2009, only 4 or 5 years after we thought that we need to create a more balanced and inclusive East Asia summit. So it was quite reassuring last April when the Foreign Ministry of China made a public statement that, at least between Indonesia and China, we do not have an overlapping claims of water in the South China Sea. And this actually allowing Indonesia to continue to play a facilitating role in managing potential conflicts in the South China Sea, in particular by bringing all parties of the conflicts to go back to the path of dialogue, something which we did from 1994 to 2002. In 2011, the participants of the East Asia Summit was expanded to include the United States and Russia, made East Asia Summit with 18 participants. The key players are ASEAN, because it is an ASEAN-sponsored activity, China, Japan, South Korea, India, Australia, and New Zealand, as well as the United States and Russia. The expansions further complicates, in a way, on matter of substance, what do we mean by East Asia Summit? There is a competing interpretation here in terms of areas of operations that we wish to develop. For President Obama, for the United States, at the summit in 2011, stated that to the United States, East Asia Summit is nothing but a forum of dialogue for political, security, and strategic issues. While for some 6 summits, East Asia Summits was focused more on the economic cooperations. So I'm very much in line with what a good friend of mine, Prime Minister Kevin Rudd, just said, that we need to strengthen the agenda of political and security cooperations in the East Asia Summit. Because so far, when we talk about cooperation, integration, community building in East Asia, we talk more on economic cooperation, economic integration, economic community. So there has been an imbalance, and that's why to us it is a need to balance the concept of cooperations. Yes, the importance of economic, but nonetheless the importance of political and security cooperations. That's why we are very much behind when we talk about political and security cooperation, not to compare ourselves with the European Union, but to other regional organizations. And that's why we are having problems to cope with the increasing tensions or potential conflicts in the East and South China Sea. Of course, on the economic front, our regions is a very dynamic one. We discuss how we soon create an East Asia-wide free trade area. This means market of 3.4 billion of countries which have increasing buying power. Look at the G20. 6 of the countries of East Asia are members of the G20. But look at the 10 top countries economically, at least by using the recent study of the World Bank, 4 of East Asian countries' economies are among the top 10. And the region's contributions to the world GDP is also expected to rise. And by 2040, contributions of East Asian economies to the world GDP would be around 65%. That's why the 21st century is often labeled as the century of the Asia-Pacific region. That's why it is confusing to hear from the regions of the 21st century, the news about conflicts, South China Sea, North China Sea, and this is our challenge. But on the political and security order, please keep in mind that Asia is a very wide and diverse region. We don't have an Asia-wide organizations or Asia-Pacific-wide regional organizations beyond APEC, which is very much economics again. And we only have sub-regional organizations such as ASEAN, SAARC, Gulf or GCC, ECO, Shanghai Initiative. And for that matter, ASEAN is considered as the most successful sub-regional organizations, at least from the perspective that in the past 47 years, we continue to enjoy relative peace and security, which in the end allow us to focus our energy, time, and resources for our economic development. That's why a rather dynamic economy of Southeast Asia, which is part and parcel of the larger dynamics of the East Asian regions. After 40 years of its existence, ASEAN is now in the process of transforming itself from rather loose associations into a community based on 3 pillars: ASEAN Political and Security Community, ASEAN Economic Community, and ASEAN Socio-Cultural Community. This is very much Indonesian concepts, because we don't want to see, like our experience in 1997 and 98, that because of the imbalanced concept of development, we suffered. Indonesia was on the brink of collapse. That's why our concept for a more balanced cooperation in ASEAN, as now we have successfully enshrined of those purposes and principles in the new ASEAN Charter of 2008. That's why we try to project for more balanced cooperations in the East Asian region, including at the East Asian Summit. On the economic front, we can anticipate that we will have soon an East Asia-wide free trade area. We have now in place quite a mix of ASEAN +1. We call it ASEAN China Free Trade Area, ASEAN Japan, ASEAN India, ASEAN Australia, ASEAN New Zealand Free Trade Area, including, I should have mentioned, Korea, of course. So we are now working for new regional economic partnerships, quite 16 countries cooperations. At the same time, in the regions of Asia Pacific, we have an active process, what is called Trans-Pacific Partnerships, led by the United States. But it's also involving 5 or 6 countries of ASEAN. So there's an overlapping, but overlapping doesn't mean bad, but I believe that the current 2 processes, the East Asian Economic Partnerships and TPP, as we call it, on the Trans-Pacific Partnership, that eventually would lead to a greater Asia-Pacific free trade area with some 27, 28 participants. So, to me at least, we need to strengthen the political and security cooperations. And I think we should design a kind of community of power of Wilsonian type on an organized common peace instead of the balance of power, which, as in the case of Europe, has been proven that it didn't guarantee an equilibrium. And so this is what we hope. That's why the need to strengthen the East Asia Summit in particular on the political and security cooperations. So it is a race against time, at least on these tensions and conflicts in the South China Sea, East China Sea, we failed. But as we are continually engaging actively, what we need is to expand to make the East Asian cooperation truly balanced. The importance, yes, the importance of economic cooperation, but nonetheless political and security cooperations.
Thank you.